AI to Go podcast.
Welcome, everyone. This is the first episode of AI to Go podcast. I'm Lucia.
This is Johannes.
My name is Oleg.
And today we're going to talk with Oleg about PitchMonster and a lot of other things AI related. So stay with us and let's get to it.
I saw that you've been selling since you were 15. I love that.
I was working, my first sales job was, I was the Vodafone promoter. I was the guy with a Vodafone bag, right? They just entered the Ukrainian market. I was the guy with a Vodafone bag, all in red, t-shirt, red cap. And I was standing in subway, underground, whatever you call it. And my first sales job wants to have a Vodafone package, a free one. And then person comes to me and I have a, this sales pipeline that's a free package. You do not pay for it. However, you need to top up your account for a couple of dollars and then you're able to use it. That was my first sales job. I was earning for my mountain bike.
Oleg, you wanted to buy a mountain bike with your first salary. You, Johannes, what is the first thing you bought with your first salary?
Oh, I mean, I grew rabbits when I was like 10. So I sold them. So that was my first kind of like business. I don't remember when I was 10 what I bought. Like my first salary at Telecom, I just got the Spotify premium subscription. That was the one treat I had after like graduating.
Oh.
Before I was a free user, and then I switched. And since then, I'm a very loyal Spotify subscriber. What was yours?
So I had a job when I was 17, which was animator, we call it in Italy, which is like when you're in hotels and you organize dances and stuff for the kids so that they, and with my first, it was honestly the best job in the world, I tell you. And I got a pair of Nike shoes. I always wanted Nike shoes when I was a kid, and my parents would always buy me one pair of shoes per year, and whatever brand or non-brand, I just had to, take it. So when I got my first salary, I bought Nike shoes. That's I still remember the model. That was like my favorite ones.
So for mountain biking purposes, I understand that you had to sell a lot of contracts.
I was covering not, I need to admit that I didn't achieve 100% of my goal. So that was not only my first sales job, but the first sales failure, or quota attainment failure, but just my personal one. That was more of a summer side hustle. Back in that summer, I was doing two things. That was rowing, so academic rowing, when you're in the boat and you just go across the river. And because the rowing base, it was quite distant from my home, I needed to have some kind of quick transport, and I came up with the idea I need to purchase the mountain bike, because I can even go and have a great, bike and walks with my friends. I'm from Kiev. Kiev is quite a lot of mountains in Kiev, to say so. Really interesting landscape, and that's why bike was a great idea. And I'm like, I need to find money somewhere, because my parents would not give me that much money like the bike I wanted to have. And I was trying to earn for it, and I covered around 50 or 60% of it, something like that. And then my father just put the other half, and boom, I got the bike with my first sales job. This is how you got locked in sales. It's like a drug for you, right? You got something, you bought something, and you're like, damn, I can invest even more time in sales, and I will have more and more material stuff. That was the mindset back in the day. But it was fun. It was a fun experience for sure.
We still you started at 15, but then you didn't really stop there. Indeed, then you kind of got addicted to sales, right? So what is your career progression up until this point?
I'd say that my first sales job was not even the Vodafone promoter. 1 year before that, I came up to a new class in school, completely new class. Everybody was, we were new, and I was studying in Lyceum. So people from different districts of the city, they were coming to the same school. So we don't know each other completely. We've never met each other, right? And I was the only guy in this class who had 1 year in this Lyceum before. So essentially, teacher staff, they knew me, and I was the main, let's say, negotiator from the class. If somebody wants to get something from the teacher and the whole class wanted to have something, for example, let's go and do some football and we need to book a court, let's say, or we completely messed up with the home test, so you need to persuade teacher not to be that aggressive on the class itself. So I was the main guy, like go ahead and try to persuade them. And this is where probably I came up with my own strategies, knowing nothing about sales. Then it was this first sales job just because I wanted to earn money, and that was the most high pay option on the market, because in sales and you can work for commission for my age. At that time I was 15, as you mentioned, 15, and then turned to 16 in the last months of the job. And then my first like a legitimate sales job, I was a lead gen guy. I was working in the company. They were selling the beacons and real-time location services. Think about, for example, big hypermarket, right? For example, Costco here in the UK, or in the US, or Auchan here in the Europe. So they were putting those beacons all over the place. And as you go, and for example, you buy some beer, beacon, because it understands your proximity, that you are in beer section right now, it will send you a quick notification on your phone. Go and buy some crisps or chips whenever you're listening to us too, because you got the 15% discount. This is what was called a proximity marketing. Unfortunately, that technology did not end up well on the market overall. Almost nobody adopted. But that startup, they found a great product market fit working with infrastructure objects. And that was great. And I was responsible for making a couple of the big arrangements, not deals. I was not a closer, but the lead gen guy. And the first sales job, when I was a closer, that was on the during the first year. I was the freshman in the university, and I went to a company, a SaaS company. I was selling the website builder. That was my first experience of closing the deals, making the money. In 4 months, I was a top performer, not because I was a natural, like the born great salesperson. I didn't know any technique. Company was not heavily invested into training. I didn't know Matt Peak bonds and everything, any fancy stuff like that. We didn't have a proper coaching as well. I was just trying to earn some money. That's basically it. And the first steps to a startup life were exactly born there, because I was talking to a lot of friends that they were working in sales in other companies. And one of my best friends, he was working as the SDR back then. And he was telling me a lot of cool stuff about technology, a lot of cool stuff, how automated their onboarding, how they record videos, how they can learn the script, how they record the conversations. And I'm like, we have literally nothing like that. At that time, he was getting more to account executive role and coaching a couple of newbie SDRs. And I was asking him, what's your pay? Because I always wanted to start the company. And he said, well, the onboarding coaching is one of the biggest, because I need to invest my personal time. And even though we invest a lot of time in trying to automate and write down a lot of materials, I still don't know if people are reading this one, essentially. And this is where me and my high school best friend, who is the tech brain, we came up with the idea, let's try to address something, and came up with something for the team leaders and how to automate the onboarding part. And this is when we started with the first startup, and essentially came up with AI role playing as our main product right now, which we are growing till this day. And it's really going great, and I absolutely enjoy the journey.
Before we dive into how you started the current company, you mentioned in the beginning that you learned a lot about persuasion. And I'm curious, based on your experience from like 15 all the way now, what are like your key hacks or key recommendations for someone who just started in sales?
I'd say that personally for me, biggest learning point was the how do you build a report? Because when it comes to sales, and especially it was super important in Ukraine, because I was selling to Ukrainian customers. We are not doing a lot of small talks by default. It's not in our cultural code as of right now. We're more of a close people, and we have only a tight circle of people that we trust. And that's why in Ukraine, people, they hate salespeople. We have a really bad culture of sales, really bad. And to succeed, you have to somehow figure out and crack the formula on how to make sure that person, he trusts you, they trust you. And it's so hard to do. And I was, once again, I was never reading anything about building the report. And just naturally, I was trying to ask, what are you doing there? What's your story? What's your background? Because all of the people, they like to talk about themselves, right? Try to be genuinely interested in person's life. The second biggest lesson is finding out the pain point. Because I remember when I was this lead gen guy, we had the fancy director coming from the sales director coming from the US. His name is Ariel. Brilliant sales mind. He was learning from Wolf of Wall Street and all of sales gurus that were so overhyped back in the time. He was attending a lot of Tony Robbins' conferences. So I was just, me, the 17-year-old person, just sitting and learning so much from him. And one important lesson that he taught me, we were playing this best simulation, like, could you sell me the pen? Right? And I would, just like any other green guy in sales, would go, well, this pen is amazing. You will, your writing will be amazing. You will do this, and that. And he gave me a great lesson of customer discovery. It was completely imaginable customer discovery, but he asked me a set of questions like, okay, could you tell me about yourself? I told him about myself. And what are your hobbies, right? And I was telling, well, I like to listen to some music. I like to watch sports, let's say. And he asked me, okay, who's your favorite who's your favorite artist? And I said, okay, this guy, for example, I like because he's hip hop and his rapping skills are just amazing. And he's like, okay, you know what? Actually, I just from the US, and my nephew, he was on the concert of this guy, and accidentally they got into the backstage and they got the pen, and this artist was signing the autograph with this pen. So this pen is really amazing, and I have two choices, right? Either I can give it to you, or I can sell it on eBay for thousands and thousands dollars, right? And I can sell it to you for 100. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's interesting and it's great, and 100 sounds amazing. And he's like, well, actually, you know what? I changed my mind because I think that in a couple of years, because this artist is really growing bigger and bigger, in a couple of years, the value of this pen could be $5,000, and you can easily resell it. I can give you a no-brainer offer right now for $500. And you just naturally want to say yes. And even though I did not have like a big pain point about having this pen or not having this pen, I didn't care about this pen, but he taught me that for sure I didn't buy the pen. However, it was
For
great.
$5,000,
Yeah.
I bet so.
Yeah. But the idea is that you can came up with a demand for the pen by finding out your motivations, your goals, your pain points is super important. And that was the second, probably biggest sales lesson I ever had. So report building is essential. And the second one is being able to really find out goals, motivations, impact. Then you don't need to be a great presenter. You don't need to be probably the biggest and the most brightest in terms of skills closer. You just have enough intel and you have enough trust to say something, and this one phrase will be so right into the heart for your counterpart that they will essentially say yes.
Oh, we have a caddy.
Oh,
Like I
nice.
just,
We have a mascot.
yeah, we have 3 cats. We have three. I have 3 cats right here, and all of them are Maine Coons. So these are not cats.
Oh,
These
wow.
are half cats,
Huge.
dogs. They're really huge, but
That-
it's not that size that is
The mothers.
interesting.
Sorry.
Is their behavior. They're just all over the place all the time. They're fighting, they're running, you cannot stop them. You have only a couple of hours per day where just they're chilling, they're sleeping, and that's pretty much it. But all other time, They're so energetic, and that's why they eat a lot. They eat a lot, but they feed because they're so energetic.
move.
They move a lot, a lot, a lot. So really, really nice fellas. That's one of the biggest fighters that I have in my squad,
Oh, yeah.
amongst others. So
Very
well, that
nice.
just don't mind he's staying with us.
No, absolutely. And maybe the other ones want to join in as well. And then we
Let's see.
start a conversation with them too. But Oleg, super interesting. And, obviously you kind of dedicated your life to sales a little bit randomly, but then you kind of got a passion for it because eventually the two companies you founded, they're really all about that, right? So Gradual is really about training sales teams, and PitchMonster, which I did use and found it really great, is actually a role play negotiation role plays, right? AI assisted though. So tell us a little bit more about these two ventures. How does they work? How do they work? And of course, how do they help salespeople become better at their job?
Even you could be really great at sales. You might have previous experience, business experience in sales. You still come to the company and you have this period of the runtime where you learn how to sell product, where you try to be a good team player even in sales team. It's super important. Where you understand the customer and you try to get to some level of top performers. Well, if you're ambitious enough. And biggest problem for that is they just don't have enough time with the prospects, or they just don't have enough time with the customers. And you have two choices. Either you go and try to sell, and first 50 sales calls there will be super hard. You will fail a lot, you'll have low conversion rates, you still don't know how to sell this product. Or you need to practice a lot. That's your second option. But if you think about organization structure, there could be only three parties that you can practice with. That could be your team leader, who's the busy guy, most likely, especially in growing teams. They have just too much on their plate. Then you have, if you're lucky to have some training department, once again, nobody hires a lot of people to training department because they would rather hire a couple of people. They will be responsible for the programs, implementations. And the third party is your senior person. For example, account executive or the closer that have been in this role for a year, and they know the buyer, they know the market, and you can practice with them. The biggest pain for all of these parties out here, and for you being a salesperson, is that nobody has time. Prior to the AI, that was the problem that was not resolved on the market at all, because you cannot replace yourself. We came up with the first startup, which is called Gradual. That was the sales LMS. And we were trying to automate at least part on how you onboard people, how you upload the materials, how you upload videos, and then giving them some quiz. We started this company with no experience in business at all. Getting our first customers right from the network, and then we got accepted into business acceleration program in Europe, in Estonia, called Startup Wise Guys. This is where we found our investors. We were lucky. We were quite lucky, but the problem is that most of our customers, they were coming from Ukraine, and then the war happened. By the way, we got the funding, our biggest funding up to date, on the second day of the war. And we had we were just in the position where we should go and try to penetrate the Western market. We should go and try the UK, Europe, find out what the country will expect for us, the US for sure. We were failing, we were hiring, we were failing, we were hiring, a lot of fails. To give you a quick estimate, probably we lost around $400,000 getting $3,000 in revenue, recurring revenue. So that's not a good investment overall. And all of this journey was just consisted of mistakes. And by accident, we decided, okay, what's the still unaddressed moment in sales coaching and training? That was the initial idea, the practice idea, because there are so many LMSs in the world. And why we failed in the Western market? Because in Ukraine, it was just great to build something which is easy to use. When you come to the US and you say, we have a platform, we have an application that is so easy to use, they most likely say, hey, we have a slightly different rules here. We have enterprises, We like integrations. We like being able to have thousands and thousands of features. We really want a software that will help us to move from point A to point B in the nearest amount of time. And we don't really care, almost don't really care about UI. How good looking is that, right? Features and integrations and your administration capabilities are at the core. That was not our product at the time. And we decided, okay, it's quite hard to compete with anybody in our space. Let's get back to initial idea, to what's still unresolved. And we came up with the idea on the PitchMonster. And this is the app where you do not upload any lessons, you do not upload any training. The whole idea of the app is being able to help salesperson to practice. At the beginning, it was that they were recording videos with the flashcards that were popping up, like the objections. How do you handle this? What would you say if customer says this? What would you say if customer gives you even more pushback? And then this video was sent to manager, and the manager would review it in convenient time. And when we launched this idea, we had even more demand for this product. We considered this like a backup option. What if we'll completely fail our initial idea? What will happen to the PitchMonster? And it ended up being a more demanded product than our initial idea, that Gradual was. And then the AI happened. We were brainstorming with the team how we can implement the AI. Maybe let's come up with the idea that you'll have a AI buyer in front of you, and ChatGPT on the back end will be generating all of the responses live based on what you say. So you say, we have this amazing product, and AI would say, well, I'd like to have a discount. And then you say, we do not have a discount, and the AI will respond just like a customer would normally respond. Like, so you can prompt, my buyer is, that's their pains and concerns, that's their top objections that might appear. Companies were just coming. We had competitors for sure. We have many even competitors right now. That's a great niche to be. But I see how many sales leaders and how many training specialists they're so thankful for these type of the tools. Because think about this, before your person go on the first sales call, for example, they can have 80%, 90% as realistic phone calls, 50 of them, 60 of them. So on the first sales call, that's like a person that's been into this profession or been into this job for 1.5, maybe even 2 months. That's a no-brainer for them. Ramp time is getting cut significantly. A lot of companies that are just they're seeing 2x of a cut to ramp time. Instead of 6 months, you can have 3 months of the ramp time. For many of the companies, that's thousands and thousands of extra dollars in revenue. That's an amazing startup that we came up probably accidentally. Once again, maybe it was the lack of the business experience, but so lucky to be here. And customers are coming Australia, Europe, the UK, North America. So lucky to be here right now, to be honest. So lucky.
Thanks for sharing your journey in the discovery process. It sounds really very inspiring. First, as you said in the beginning, one of your key learnings is around like how do you find out about the pain points of your customer group, right? And you mentioned that ultimately, if I can paraphrase that, more experienced sales guys, they just don't have the time. So timing is the most scarcest asset for an experienced sales manager. And ultimately, you found a tool that helps scale training, make it more accessible to younger sales managers or account executives. How did you approach this in terms of finding out about the needs of your target group? What was like the journey there? And is it only about like saving time and making training more accessible, or is there more to this?
When we were in the accelerator, I mentioned that one before, the program in Estonia, one of the great exercises that we had, it was called the Market Engineering Week. And these are just as much customer research, as much customer calls, customer analysis calls. You have to do as much as possible. And we were talking with the different sales coaches. We were talking with SMBs. We were talking with the enterprise. Back in the time, we were quite lucky to have on the calls guys from Salesforce, from Zendesk as well. from the non-Coca-Cola, so FMCG companies, big tech companies, and right to small SMB companies that are growing. Once again, that was research prior to the AI revolution that happened. So a lot of things are different right now. But back in the time on that research, most of the sales leaders, and we were talking both to sales, like the team leaders, head of sales, directors, sales enablers, business owners, if it's a small business. Two biggest challenges that sales leaders had was, number one, I don't know how should I build training and coaching, because it's hard for me to understand what's going on in the real calls. And only small number of the companies, they had conversation intelligence tools back in the time, like Gone. And once again, back in the time, it was not AI like that you get a lot of feedback and analysis, and then it's being sent somewhere, and platform says to you, okay, you should do this, and this in your workshops to make sure that people will be hitting the numbers, will cover the gaps. And the second issue was the practice.
You talked about a lot of turns and like pivots, especially during the early days. Starting with, like, you just launched, then the war in Ukraine happened, where you lost probably a lot of business, and the
90%.
complete situation of your life pretty much changed, right? Then AI came along in 2022 as well, right? So you found a new opportunity to further build your platform. Can you speak a bit more to these changes in 2022 and how that affected your personal life and your business, if you want to share that?
If you're asking about war, for sure it did have some of the things that were impacting negatively, because when you try to perform, you always have a big noise on the background. And that's not only the noise that something is going wrong at your own house. You're in a bad relationship with your spouse. It affects your day-to-day business, right? Or day-to-day work life. So that's not only a household conflict. That's the overall disaster. And you have to manage team. Half of the team is in Ukraine, half of the team they're in Europe. One of our back in the time content marketing person was living in Odessa, and Odessa was constantly shelling. So half of 101 was not addressed to business, half of 101 was addressed to how do you feel, right? Me and my founder, we absolutely accidentally got out of Ukraine 6 hours before war started. Absolutely accidentally. We were just traveling to Estonia to meet our investors, and we woke up on transition flight from Italy to Estonia. It ended up that we are in the war, and 30 minutes ago the war started. Well, it was exactly 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So for sure,
Right.
it was the burden, but at the same time, we were motivated in the way that if our people are standing up and they try to repel big disaster, who are we not trying to put as much as efforts to build our Ukrainian startup, our Ukrainian business? So we could not, by having this chance to work in Europe and not being heavily, because company, yeah, we lost some revenue, but honestly, that's you do not even talk about revenue. People are losing lives.
Yeah.
And we did not have a choice to ultimately fail, to give up at some point, because we know that right now we are in pretty much comfortable position, and people are there losing businesses of their lives. People are there losing their homes. It's completely different. We could not fail. We should stand up as well. So it was motivating. The fact it was affecting in a negative way, the contrary fact that it was motivating that let's work harder because we just don't have any other option. If we're talking about 2022, the biggest probably negative effect besides the war was just the constant fail, constant mistake, constant learning. Because when you start the business, you are super motivated, to grow as quickly as possible, and you're a salesperson, and you have bright tech mind right next to you, and you're like, we both considered to be smart people. We both were executing well and performing well when we were out of business. We have funding right now. We have just to grow, 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 grow. And it was like self-bitching even in the moment. Why don't we grow that much as we want to?
Mhm.
But startup life is not overnight success. And you just came out with this idea a bit later. If you came out with this idea in the beginning of your journey, probably you will not even succeed, because unfortunately any part of success is that self-bitching, getting mature in your own way as well, and trying to be demanding to yourself. So the whole 2022 was just like that. It was putting a lot of pressure, but I'd say this pressure paid off in one day when PitchMonster got first couple of clients in relatively quick manner, and we were just growing, 10, 15% months over months. At that time, that was amazing growth for us. So I'd say 2022 that was essentially transformative way in mental standpoint, in terms of how you run the business. And then it will happen. One day it will happen. One day you will not believe where you are, just because you will think that, well, that's a fairy tale. I don't know how we get those business numbers, to be honest.
Well, with hard work, I would say. So that is
Yeah.
definitely I think really the underlying that we said throughout the entire episode is really this, right? Just putting the effort in. But I want to go back a little bit to the AI topic, right? Which is, well, obviously, PitchMonster is an AI solution, but I'm actually curious to know how you use AI in your company. So in what way did you integrate AI? Did you automate any process? How do you use AI in your day-to-day job?
I didn't live without AI. Any of the
Good.
For real, any of the things that I do, the other day, I created so when you work with enterprise level customers, part of the deal process is getting the security approval. That's a big thing, and for sure for the salesperson, sales-led founder, that's a big that's something boring to do, because company that you want to get, and you're just like, yeah, let me close the deal, let me run the presentations, because that's my nature. I
That's the
will
exciting part.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. And then company, well, before we are closing the master service agreement, let us introduce you to our security guy, and he will ask you a couple of questions. And inside of a couple of questions, they're just sending out to you the 100 or 200 or even 300 question form, based on just security questions. And overnight, yeah, if you feel me right, and overnight, because you just don't have time in your business hours for that, in the night, you're sitting in the Zoom with your co-founder, who is a tech guy, and you're filling out this questionnaire. We've, in the course of our journey, filled out a couple of dozens of questionnaires like that. So we have a database of the responses.
Mhm.
What I do right now, when I get a new questionnaire, I use Claude, right? And I upload all of our previous responses in the database of the responses to Claude. As the Claude is the now, if somebody doesn't know, that's the alternative to OpenAI, ChatGPT, also a great LLM. And I like it to use more for the content and purposes like that. So I just uploaded all of our questionnaire responses to Claude's product knowledge, and I created the bot who is helping me. I'm doing the screenshot of the form with the questions. I upload it to Claude, I get back the answers, and the only thing that I need to do is just copy and paste.
Copy paste.
I think in a couple of months, it will not be just even being like doing the copy paste. You'll have an agent that you can build. You just upload the form, you get the responses, and the only thing that is needed is just take a look at the responses that bot implement. That's, that's one of the simplest examples how I personally use AI, and there are dozens and dozens examples like that. I'm on the call. The bot helps me to build a follow-up based on the notes from the call. I'm making the proposal. I'm brainstorming the proposal and the selling points with the AI. I'm doing the security questionnaire. I outsourced it 95% of the questionnaire work for me is outsourced completely. I do some kind of the research, I go and do it with the AI. AI role playing for sure. If I want to demonstrate something to somebody, I even can run the dry ride sessions. I can create the buyer persona in PitchMonster and I can practice. I can work with the objections just for me to be more confident in my presentation in a couple of hours, because that's super important presentation for us. I don't even talk about our development guys, our tech team. They're just living with the AI. AI is helping them to write the code. AI is we've optimized our server scores cost by 30% because of the AI. AI
Amazing.
is everywhere and it's crazy and it's so helpful.
Totally. And if you had to just pick, I know it's difficult, but if you had to pick your top 3 favorite must-have AI tools as of today, what would it be and why?
The simplest one, probably the most simplest one, but at the same time, the most I'd say valuable one for me. These are note takers that are on the course with me, and I have the automation that it writes an instant follow-up, which is hyper personalized, mention the gaps, mention the action steps and everything, so I can keep the deal in the process. That's probably number one for me, right? I will put and I will dedicate another place for a PitchMonster, because that's a essential
enough.
to this. Be prepared for the calls.
Good
I
salesman.
cannot go against that. But the second one, whoa, that's tough, because there are a lot of tools out there. You know what? I will go with the classic. That's just LLM. Any of the LLMs that you use with the ChatGPT, whether it's Claude or anything like that. But the point is that they're really starting to give you a lot of features, like being able to either build your personalized bot with a great knowledge base, or even being able to build agents to automate your workflow. And the recent release from OpenAI, the search agent, and I promised myself, anytime I will write a next blog post, I will go and use this research bot, because I can easily build the structure of the blog, the facts, key findings, and everything like that. And I will just scrape the information on how to build a better content than my competitors, right? And it will just create a lot of automation for me. So note takers, LLMs, and how you set up all of the automations with them. And the third one, essential for sales team, is the PitchMonster for sure.
Very good.
Recommendations.
And do you also use them, let's say, really on your regular life, let's say, besides work, right? So how do you use AI in day-to-day life, if you do, right? So did you do some, I don't know, weird prompts on ChatGPT, something like that? What do you do?
Probably the biggest use case for me, I do the fact check when we argue with my girlfriend.
I did that too once.
That's the best use case of the AI, to be honest. So when you argue and you're in the middle of, I'm from sales, she's from recruitment, so every discussion that we have is full of facts, full of trying to persuade and sell our point to each other, but in non-toxic way. We're both really great at arguing over something in the way that I even like those, because these are like a debates for me and for her as well. So anytime when we have completely different facts, we go and we do some fact checking. Yeah, either on numbers or on opinions or on researches. So probably that's the top use case for me in using AI in day-to-day, not business life, but a lot of things like just question and answers. If I come up with a question and I want to check it, go to ChatGPT or even Google. They implemented this feature of quick AI snippets as you go for something. Just search for something. Search for a quick answer to your question.
And do you honest, how do you use AI on a daily basis? What is the most random thing you did with ChatGPT or Perplexity? I know you love Perplexity more than ChatGPT, so let's go with that.
When we had the Super Bowl final a few weeks ago, I tried to catch up on all the different rules, because it's a very complex set of rules. So I was chatting back and forth on all these different rules while watching the
Mm.
Super Bowl, just to understand what's happening on the pitch. So I think that was my latest on like the random like use cases in order to access knowledge. And so I had a nice voice to voice chat with Perplexity while I was watching the Super Bowl. What is yours?
Nice. And mine,
Most random.
well, you are very normal, guys. Like, I am a hypochondriac, so I like every little symptom I have, I ask ChatGPT, oh God, I have all of this, you know, like, what could that be?
Yeah.
And ChatGPT tells you, I'm not a doctor, however, blah, 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 but go see a doctor. Like, that's it, I'm dying. So that's pretty much how I use it. But I also use it to make weekly menus. Like, I use it for many things, like a holiday plans. So really, the most random things, like if I have a doubt, I just ask ChatGPT, basically. My best friend, almost.
I use it a lot for weekend planning too. So if you're looking for like the hike in the Bay Area, they always come up with some really good recommendations or like restaurants to try out, right, for certain cuisines. So there's a lot to discover.
Yeah.
Totally.
Actually, your use cases, my girlfriend, she uses AI on that level. So, for example, if she is trying to find some fragrance, she goes to the AI, she explains what she likes. And for example, I have this candle, let's say, that has these and these notes, and I want to have something like that in my fragrance. Could you suggest me a list of top 10, 15 fragrances like that? And now she has the list, and when we go to the center, for example, she's like, well, I got the list from the chat GPT, let's go and take a look what is the best for me. So yeah, probably because 90% of my life right now is the work, I'd say that I just use GPT and other LLMs for the business because it takes most of my day, right? And when I'm out of sitting in front of desktop, I just want to relax even without this AI. So probably that's the case.
Anyway, your girlfriend is planning your weekends with ChatGPT, so that's okay. You don't have to, delegation. Nice. And guys, to conclude, if that's okay for you, I would like to ask you, Oleg, what is one prediction that you have about AI? You know, like, what do you think is going to happen with AI specifically in the world of sales, especially now that there is like all this talk about AI, SDRs, and so on. So, what are your predictions?
I think that it might be a great topic for completely another podcast to think about the future of sales and the AI. There is one cool book that I read a couple of months ago that is called The Superintelligence. That book, have you seen it? Have you?
I didn't read it yet.
Quick disclaimer: if you will be reading this book, your hands will be super sweaty, because superintelligence is the AI that has its own motivation and could build up the motivation. But what if the motivation is being harmful to people? All right, if you hurt AI, just like a person who wants to fight back, AA would create the motivation to fight back as well. And there are a lot of technical things that are super fascinating about this book. They're all written in simple language, so recommended to everyone out there regarding the future of the AI. And 100% it's a separate podcast. And our future could be bright. I'm not trying to say that we are all be dead in a couple of years from now. It's just the matter of this book is quite, your hands will be super sweaty, 100% guaranteed. Now, coming back to the sales, in the short run, and I say short run as the maybe 1.5 years, agents will be a top thing, especially from the side of the managers and from the side of the companies, if we're talking about sales tools. Because think about this, couple of years ago, I was listening to the podcast of SalesLoft CEO, and he said an amazing quote that in future we'll have everything in one place, and that's why Salesforce, they trying to be the tool one and all and have a lot of integrations, and so salespeople and managers will not hop from this tool to any other of the tools, right? To be one point of contact. And the same, this vision is super relevant for agents that you will be able to build, because You as the sales leader, essentially, you're like, okay, I want to understand top gaps of my salespeople, and please generate the role plays for them to cover these top gaps. And the agent goes, analyzes all of your calls, right, and comes up with the gaps, send it back to you so you can just double check. And then actually in the PitchMonster, we've built 20 role plays that you would need to assign to this role play to these people, this role play to these people, and this role play to other people. And then in 2 weeks, it will follow you up. So these are results from the PitchMonster, and we identified that this person still has these gaps. So think about how much automation and how much time it will be your assistant in the way if you set up in the right way. So in the short run of 1.5 years, sales agents that are listening, communicating, and create and integrating tools with each other, it will be a great thing. For the buyers, they will be, I guess, quite lucky if companies will adopt AI as soon as possible because it will make sales experience more smoother, right? But at the same time, for the buyer, they will need to understand they will deal either with a human being or, as you mentioned, with the AI. Most of transactional sales, I believe, will be switching to the AI. But most of the personalized sales, B2B sales for sure, companies that would want to stand out being like a top communicators, we're not using AI because we just want human beings to talk to human beings. So for the buyers out there, we have to admit that with the time, we will be speaking to a lot of AI bots, and we are speaking to a lot of AI bots right now, customer service.
Yeah.
You make an appointment with I call to doctor and make an appointment with the AI is the reality right now. And the same with the salesperson. AI will try to upsell me for a subscription for this appointments or a subscription to this doctor, right? So for them, the experience will be smoother because AI drives the better organization in companies. But at the same time, it's quite philosophical topic because if there will be a lot of AI, I mean, in terms of the traction with the buyer, a lot of companies might even start be losing because humans could be indifferent to the AI if the AI will not be just 99.9% alike to human. So they will appreciate the human touch even more, I believe. So for a lot of organizations, it will be also a turning point. Do we invest in more AI communication with our buyers? Do we stick to this human-to-human approach? Future is interesting. Future is entertaining, 100%. It's transformative as well. But I believe it will be just for favor to the benefits of both companies, businesses, and the buyers, essentially, if we're doing the right things. But then super intelligence will happen, and who knows how we will live after that.
So the future is exciting, right? But also a bit scary. Actually, I had one last question, which is if you could end one major issue with AI, what would that be? Real quick. I have one, which is environment, climate, right? As I think
So you
climate-
say like if issue that you want
big
to fix.
issues, right? Yeah, and big issues that you want to change. For me, that would definitely be the environment because I think I don't like this super anxious, eco activists that just try to make you feel bad about every single decision in your life. I think as humans, generally, we are optimistic. We want to improve. We want to better our civilization, right? So I think we're just going to use our knowledge, collecting knowledge to find solutions to fight the climate change. So if there would be one issue that I could solve with AI, that would definitely that one, my top priority, probably.
Yeah,
I have a good one, Oleg, if you want to think about it for another minute. So I like the climate change idea a lot. And I think there are a lot of startups out there that are already leveraging AI, like Pajama is one good example, on where they use satellite footage to identify wildfires early, right, for prevention, early detection. And probably there are many other use cases out there. Healthcare is another good one for early stage cancer detection, especially for skin cancer. I think we made a lot of effort and progress in the past couple of years on detecting skin cancer and other forms of cancer early, leveraging latest image technology. So I think that's definitely a good one. How do you foster like prevention of diseases or like early detection in the healthcare space? Another one is definitely around biology and DNA, right? So how do you make sure that you understand DNA of individuals better in order to prevent the spread of diseases early in the life of a child, for example?
Yeah.
So I think healthcare is another interesting one to solve issues that affect people's lives.
Totally.
In terms of the big issue to resolve with the AI, Johannes, I'd support you, and I'd say it like a longevity. Because if we are able to treat cancer or any other diseases, prevent them, treat them, right? To be able to faster treat them as well. If you're able to understand and even in certain way build the right biohacking that will enhance your organism, whether you'll be half robot, let's say, or you'll be just enhanced, your organism will be enhanced with the micro robots that will be helping you to treat something or enhance your organism in that way that it will recover faster. You'll be able to have more strength in the right way. You'll be able to look healthier in the right way. So sure, and saying longevity, I say have more quality years that you can enjoy. How much of the years? I've read different researches on what might be our expectancy with the AI, and it could be completely different. So I'd not give any forecast right now in terms of how humanity or how long humanity will live. But I guess that what longevity can bring us is having a more quality life for longer. That's important point. And not losing a lot of relatives and friends because of some of the diseases out there.
Awesome. My hypochondriac self is very happy about this last note. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Oleg, for the conversation. It was super insightful. Personally, I learned a lot. There are a few things that I'm going to get, for example, an AI note taker, which I must admit I do not have yet. And Johannes, what's the main takeaway for you there? I know.
I love the overall journey that you've been through, Oleg. That's great spirit in times of deep trouble in Europe. And the way you turned around the business, you extended the product. That's really very inspiring. Your resilience stands out for me here, and also appreciate the chat very much today. Thank you so much for joining.
Likewise. Thanks for inviting.
Awesome. And everyone, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification so you don't miss any other exciting conversations. Everyone, thank you so much. See you in the next episode.
Don't forget to subscribe to the AI to Go podcast.